What's up, guys? Golden Knight here. Have you ever spent hours on a drawing trying to make every line perfect, only to end up finishing nothing? I have too. And the truth is, perfectionism isn't helping you at all. In fact, it's holding you back from growing as an artist. And there are still so many people who proudly say they're perfectionists, without even realizing the cost. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact 7 steps I use to overcome perfectionism and finally start producing more art and improving my skills. If you feel like you never finish your drawings, are afraid to post your work, or get paralyzed before even starting, this video is for you. Perfectionism isn't high standards, it's disguised fear. There's a common lie that perfectionism makes you believe every day, that you're just being careful, professional, committed to quality. But when you look more honestly, you realize there's something much less noble behind all that pressure. Fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough when someone finally sees what you've done. The problem is, perfectionism doesn't make you do better. It makes you delay. You tweak details no one will notice, change things that were already working, and endlessly revise something that could already be out in the world. It's like polishing a car that never leaves the garage. Creative professionals struggle with this because they tie their identity to what they produce. Work stops being just work and becomes a reflection of who they are, and no one wants to be seen as someone who creates bad things. So any mistake feels like a personal attack. But while you're trying to protect yourself from judgment, you're also protecting yourself from progress. The more you wait for the perfect moment, the farther away it feels. Your standards rise, your self-criticism increases, and your confidence shrinks. Your brain enters a dangerous cycle. The less you deliver, the less proof you have of your ability. And the less proof you have, the more your fear grows. Perfectionism feeds on inaction. Productive people aren't less demanding. They just understand that high standards come after action, not before. First you do. Then you improve. Quality is born from movement. And until you internalize that, you'll keep confusing perfectionism with high standards, when it's really just fear. Done is better than perfect, but almost no one truly gets this. Many people have heard the phrase, done is better than perfect, but very few actually live by it. In practice, the opposite happens. They agree with the idea but still act like every delivery is final, like that piece of work will forever define their abilities. What almost no one realizes is that every piece of work is temporary. Every project is a version, not a verdict. Experienced artists know this. They don't wait until they feel ready to show something. They show it to become ready. Growth comes from repetition, continuous adjustment, and interaction with the real world. It doesn't happen in your head, it happens through practice. When you hold back too much, you're not gaining quality. You're losing timing, learning, and confidence. One published video teaches more than 10 perfect ones left in a drawer. One released song leads to more growth than 100 unfinished versions on your computer. Done creates feedback. Perfect only creates anxiety. There's also an emotional trap here. Perfectionism gives you a false sense of control. While you're adjusting and revising, it feels like you haven't taken a risk yet. But that control is an illusion. The real risk isn't someone disliking your work. That's inevitable. The real risk is spending years without building anything concrete, without a body of work, without visible progress. Productivity isn't about doing something amazing once. It's about doing something good many times. It's about allowing your work to be imperfect enough to exist. The more you accept that, the lighter the process becomes. Creating stops being a test of your self-worth and becomes a consistent practice. You're mistaking planning for progress. There's a kind of perfectionism that hides behind responsibility. It shows up when you say you're still planning, organizing ideas, studying a bit more before starting. It sounds smart, responsible, and sensible. But in practice, that endless planning is just a polished way to avoid action. Planning gives you a feeling similar to creating. You feel like you're moving forward, getting ready, being careful. But deep down, nothing real is being made. Artists do this all the time. They wait for the perfect idea, the most original concept, the right moment of inspiration, the perfect tool. But the truth is simple. Clarity doesn't come before action. It comes after. You only understand what works when you put something out into the world and observe the feedback. Before that, it's all just guesswork. The more you try to predict everything, the heavier the start becomes. The project grows in your mind until it feels too big to begin. That's one of the cruelest tricks of perfectionism. It inflates the importance of starting to stop you from taking the first step. Productive people plan just enough to begin. They know the plan will change. They know the first version will be wrong. And that's okay. Because the initial goal isn't to get it right. It's to gain momentum. To move from zero. Movement creates information. Information creates adjustment. Adjustment creates quality. If you always feel like you're preparing but rarely executing, this point is an uncomfortable mirror. And it leads directly to the next topic. Why mistakes scare you so much, even when you say you know mistakes are part of the process. Mistakes don't set you back, they teach you, but you were taught otherwise. From a young age, most of us are taught that making mistakes should be avoided. Low grades, criticism, failure, embarrassment. Mistakes become synonymous with failure, not learning. And when you grow up with that mindset, perfectionism becomes an automatic defense. You try to get everything right the first time because messing up feels like a disaster. But in real life, especially in creative work, mistakes aren't detours. They are the path. Every artist you admire built their quality on top of failed attempts, wrong decisions, and projects that didn't work. But you don't see that part. You only see the final result and compare it to your beginning. When you avoid mistakes, you avoid experimenting. And when you avoid experimenting, you stick to the same safe patterns. That might keep you at an okay level, but it never takes you to something truly great. Growth happens exactly when something doesn't work and forces you to adjust, rethink, and improve. There's also an illusion that making mistakes will ruin your image. In reality, most people aren't paying that much attention. They're too busy with their own lives and insecurities. And even when someone does notice a mistake, it almost never carries the weight you imagine. The biggest impact of a mistake isn't external, it's in your own mind. You confuse what you do with who you are. This is one of the deepest and most overlooked points about perfectionism. At some point, without realizing it, you stopped seeing your work as something you do and started seeing it as something you are. And when that happens, any failure isn't just a technical error, it's a direct threat to your identity. If a project goes wrong, it's not because the project failed, it's because you're not good enough. If someone criticizes your work, it feels like they're criticizing you as a person. This fusion of identity and output creates unbearable pressure. Because now, every attempt carries the weight of proving your worth. Artists struggle with this because they put so much emotion into what they create. That's beautiful, but dangerous without inner separation. Perfectionism becomes a shield. If I don't deliver, no one can reject me. If I don't finish, no one can judge me. But identity isn't built by avoiding failure. It's built by surviving it. You don't become more confident when everything goes right. You become stronger when you realize that even after failing, you're still whole. That criticism doesn't destroy you. That one bad project doesn't erase everything you've done. When you separate who you are from what you produce, the work becomes much lighter. You understand that each delivery is just a snapshot of your process, not a definitive portrait of you as a person. Imperfect discipline beats perfect motivation. Many people wait until they feel confident, inspired, or ready to act. The problem is that state almost never arrives for perfectionists. Because the standard is always too high and the self-criticism always too loud. Meanwhile, the days go by and nothing gets done. Action becomes dependent on a feeling that isn't even under your control. What really unlocks productivity isn't motivation. It's routine. It's showing up even without feeling like it. It's doing the work even knowing it won't be amazing. Consistent artists don't create only when they're inspired. They create because they've made creating a part of their lives, just like brushing their teeth or eating. Imperfect discipline means accepting average output at first. It means creating while tired, unclear, or doubtful. And doing it anyway. Because the goal isn't to get it right today. It's to build a body of work that, over time, turns into quality. There's something powerful about this kind of discipline. It removes the emotional weight of creating. You don't decide whether or not you'll do it. You just do it. The mind stops negotiating, making excuses, demanding ideal conditions. Perfectionism loses strength when action becomes habit. At first, this might hurt your ego. You'll look at your work and think it could have been better. And it probably could. But only those who keep going actually improve. Those who wait for the perfect version usually stop halfway. Celebrate progress, not perfection. The final step, and maybe the most important, is to completely change what you measure. Perfectionists always focus on what's missing, what's wrong. But artists who truly grow celebrate every small improvement. Have you ever posted a drawing and compared it to that amazing artist you follow? It's natural, but also a deadly trap. You're comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 300. It doesn't make sense, it's not fair to yourself, and it only feeds perfectionism. The only fair comparison is you today versus you yesterday. Here's what I want you to do right now. Create a folder on your computer for all your drawings, and divide that folder into subfolders, one for each month of the year. You don't need exact dates. Monthly separation is more than enough. Every time you make something, whether it's a finished drawing, a sketch, or a study, drop it in the folder. Review it periodically. Every 3 months, look back and you'll be surprised at how much you've improved in areas you didn't even notice. This helps you recognize and celebrate your small wins, and it's the accumulation of those wins that builds real growth and a solid career. If this video helped you in any way, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next ones. Thanks so much for watching all the way through. Don't forget to take a look at the description. There are several important links there that can help you even more. See you in the next video.